This meeting is being recorded.
I'm not sharing anything yet.
Just gonna wait while people join us.
Yes. I don't know what I just did.
Did you lose something?
Yeah, I can't get this screen back. Looks like
Okay,
I'm
we'll give you a
sharing.
second to find that. And I will just welcome everyone.
Can I? Yeah, because I can't seem to close this.
Okay,
Can I
Well-
close it and come back in? Is that a thing?
close your session and come back in.
Yes.
I don't think we
Just
should.
not. Can't
Let's
seem
go
to get
ahead
this
and
screen. Oh, there we are. I'm back.
got the screen. Got it? Okay, great. I'm going to start the meeting now by introducing myself. My name is Deborah Williams, and I'm the Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion at Strides Toronto. We're so glad you've joined us today for one of our many sessions being held during Black Mental Health Week. We're here with Victoria Daley, the founder of Mia's World Book Club and author of Mommy Lives Here and Daddy Lives There. And she wrote a book about separation and divorce for children to promote mental wellness under difficult situations. And I'm going to start off by saying that Black Mental Health Week is designed to support positive mental health for Black communities and individuals by providing alternative ways to support mental health and wellness. This year's event will work again to amplify the voices of Black communities and bring much needed awareness to the historical and current effects of systemic anti-Black racism on mental health and wellness. The theme for Black Mental Health Week 2023 is Be You, Be Well, and our presenter today will be talking with us with that in mind. There's going to be a short survey in the chat for you to complete and provide feedback before the end of the session, so please consider giving us your feedback. Once again, the session is being recorded and it'll be available for viewing later on our website, blackmentalhealthweek.ca. But before we get started talking with Victoria, I'm going to start with a land and ancestral acknowledgement, and let's take a moment for reflection as we respectfully acknowledge the sacred land on which we gather today as a traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. For thousands of years, this has been the land of the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, the Anishinaabe, the Seneca, the Chippewa, Inuit, Métis, and the current treaty holders, Mississaugas of the Credit Peoples. We share responsibility with the caretakers of this land to ensure the dish is never empty and to restore relationships that are based on peace, friendship, and trust. We take this moment to openly reflect on the history of these lands that we now call home and commit to aligning with the struggle of our Indigenous neighbors and supporting their future. We are all treaty people. Many of us have come here as settlers, immigrants, or newcomers in this generation or generations past. We acknowledge the over 400-year history of communities of African descent in Canada who are not settlers, but who were forcibly displaced from their lands and brought to Turtle Island against their will as part of the transatlantic slave trade. We're indebted to our ancestors and recognize generations past. Today, we continue their work, fighting for our collective benefit, denouncing colonial histories, breaking down systemic barriers, improving the health and lives of our communities, and pushing back against anti-Black racism. We're committed to real and impactful change for today and hope for future generations. So I'm going to just introduce you to Victoria. She works with children with a diverse range of needs while having the opportunity to be a mother to a beautiful 6-year-old girl while living in a co-parenting experience. Graduating from Sheridan College, she took the Community Outreach and Development course, and having a slew of interesting classes like research methods, psychology, and health promotions, she took special interest to international development before starting her journey as an author to help others through sharing her personal experiences. Victoria wrote her first book, Mommy Lives Here and Daddy Lives There, to open dialogue and explain separation and divorce to children and promote mental wellness under difficult situations. Although she's in a healthy co-parenting relationship, she's aware of the different scenarios and situations that may arise when co-parenting in relationships to divorce, in relation to divorce and separation. She shares her experience in co-parenting in her publications, not just for parents, but for children to join in on the dialogue and have a basic understanding on a topic that often gets swept under the rug in Black communities. She founded Mia's World Book Club as an online resource to engage young readers, providing them the opportunity to review children's books written by other authors and give those authors the convenience to promote their books and creativity in one place. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. I love this book.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I'm excited to be here.
So I'm going to give the floor to you and ask you to tell us a little bit about your origin story. Tell us who you are.
Sure, no problem. So as you mentioned, my name is Victoria Daley. I am Canadian born and raised. Come from a Caribbean descent background. So both of my parents are from the islands. My mother is Jamaican, and I tend to stick with those Jamaican roots there. I'll say I'm well-grounded. Pretty large family. Similar to my publications, I too am a product of a co-parenting household. I like to say single parent household rather. It was a lot different though in my time versus now. And I'd say that to say back when I was experiencing or co-parenting or the single parent household, there wasn't much opportunity for doing things like this. So what we're doing, having open dialogue and open conversation. So I think I'm really glad that now that I'm older, I'm able to kind of look back at my childhood and reflect and be grateful for the resources that I have now that I didn't have back then. And again, now that I'm a mom, I'm able to kind of apply those resources in my own co-parenting situation that I didn't necessarily have when growing up with my parents. Fast forward, like you mentioned, I graduated from Sheridan College from Community Outreach and Development. I was not an avid reader, I'd say, but I always took a liking to writing. I always, I enjoyed journal writing. I enjoyed maybe writing in a diary. I was just always writing. Car rides with my parents or my mom, I always remember just writing, journaling my thoughts, my ideas. And in regards to community, that was my thing. I just loved being surrounded by community, enjoyed helping out the community, and from a grassroots approach, which is when you mentioned, Deborah, you mentioned international development was one of my favorite courses or interest, and right on the nail. That, in fact, because of community and because of the ability to be able to start from a grassroots approach in terms of change and awareness, raise awareness, that's kind of where it all began. And here I am now as an educator where I support high school students. And I like to focus now, although I support all students, my focus now is on Black students in particular that are experiencing housing insecurities. There's some mental health issues going on there. So my goal is to really just support them to obtain and achieve their academic goals. And that's pretty much my background and my origin and a little bit about me.
Oh, thank you. And I want to know about how that fed into your decision to become an author.
Well, again, if I take it back to my upbringing, I remember, Deborah, being in, let's start off with classrooms. I remember being in classrooms and the focus was a nuclear family. So being a product of a co-parenting environment or single parent household rather, I wasn't able to relate to those discussions or those lessons in the classroom. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't have the tools and the necessary resources that I have now to help me navigate through those things. So it was more just shutting down. Now that I am in my own co-parenting relationship, and what happened was, I'll be honest, I separated, my daughter was 4, and she had a lot of questions. And I wasn't sure how I was going to help her navigate through what was happening. But what I did know is I didn't want her to experience what I had gone through. Right. So I didn't want her to not be able to feel welcomed or feel included in the classroom. I didn't want that. I wanted her voice to be heard. Coming from a Caribbean background, you're a child. It's not a thing to talk about your issues with your children or your problems or your adversities with your children. That's not a thing. Never mind a
Big
professional.
people talk. It's big people talk.
Right. Right. Mind your business,
Right.
your little pitney or what have you.
Right.
So never mind even opening it up to a professional like a therapist or what have you. So I really didn't have a voice in terms of my situation. I wasn't able to express how I really felt. So going into the classrooms and wanting a voice or a space of safety and comfort, so I'm able to kind of express myself, I didn't have that. Instead, I found myself just to myself, or maybe pairing up with individuals that were like me, that could relate to my situation. But I really felt a sense of just neglect, not belonging. And I did not want that for Paige Mia. So when I was going through my own experience, again, I really, really took pride in just finding the resources and helping her navigate through what we were experiencing. She was asking questions at 4, like, why doesn't daddy live here anymore? Why isn't daddy here anymore? And I mean, I was dealing with my own I guess, way of handling my situation. So I didn't have the words for her. So again, this is where the mental wellness and mental balance comes in, and really owning in on your community. And that was my mental wellness. I really owned in on my community, my village, and I really just leaned in on them for support, to have hard conversations that I wasn't having, conversations that I wasn't able to have as a little girl. And I really just, again, brought that to my daughter and just really had open conversation. I was super transparent, obviously to her level. She was 4 at the time. Being an educator, I figured, you know what, writing a manuscript will not only help my daughter, but would help parents and other children that are experiencing maybe single parent households or a co-parenting situation. I'm blessed right now that I can say I'm in a positive co-parenting dynamic or situation, but I do realize that is not the case for everyone.
No. So you're writing what you know. You realize that you want to put this out there and share, which is really brave, and I appreciate that very much. So how do you put the book together? You have this idea. How did you put it together?
Just so the book number 1, so Mommy Lives Here, Daddy Lives There, was in fact the conversation. So the dialogue that I had with Mia in explaining and helping her navigate through what was happening in her life. I explained, you know what, Mia, you're a lucky girl. You have 2 of everything. You have 2 homes. Granted, I realize that that's not the case for every co-parenting situation, but that's how I explained it to Mia, and that's what worked for us. So again, having that conversation, literally putting that conversation in writing, seeking out different editors and illustrators I really wanted to be able to depict not only the co-parenting experience, but I really wanted to showcase love too, and showcase it in a positive lens. So finding the illustrator also was really a big deal. I really wanted to make sure that she was able to bring my vision to life through my story. And in both books, I had the same illustrator for both books, and she did just that. So I gathered my thoughts, put it in a manuscript. I found an editor, and after the editor, before the editor, I was connecting with different authors just to make sure that we had a good connection, a good rapport, and again, they were able to kind of see my vision. And I connected with the illustrator Jaden Taylor. And from then it was history. We were just able to kind of, I self-published. So the route was a little different that I took, much harder. However, I will say for me, it was the best route that I've taken. And I would suggest, until you're at the level or at the point of, maybe multiple books in the series, or you're comfortable with maybe others kind of leading your show, I would then look into other means. But for self-publishing, I think for me, the benefits, well, first of all, you get most of your percentage, right? It's kind of yours. There's also no approval. I find that there's no yellow tape or black tape surrounded by your work. You're just able to kind of put it out there, reach the demographic that you want, and the communities that you want. And I guess that comes in to place with self-marketing. So just having my way, being able to kind of navigate and control my show. And that's the route I took. And here we are today with 2 books later and an activity book.
Yeah, and I just love the series because it not only has the stories, it has the activity book as a part of it, which you'll go over a little later. And you talk about, the self-publishing route being the best first route. And I think that's very validating that you say that, because I think a lot of people may think, well, who's gonna want to read what I write? Yeah, read what I write, and who's gonna want to publish me? And the thing is, you see, you don't know who your audience is. You're
You
gonna
never
pick
know.
your cohort and you're gonna do it and see what's out there.
Exactly. And you know what? Even if it's one person, you never know who you could relate to.
Yeah.
And even just in terms of reinforcing positivity in terms of in a different lens, even just giving them a different perspective by reading your story.
So let's pivot now to representation, because this is a story that, we know this story is necessary, but it's not out there. And I think you and I both talked about our respective books, looking around to say there must be something else like this out there, and realizing no one's written about this yet. So tell me about the value of representation and what you've gotten from the people who you've bought and read your book, what they tell you about the fact that you wrote this and that they see themselves.
I think two words come to mind, and that's inclusivity and perception.
Yeah.
So, and I do a lot of read alouds at schools too. So I think having children see you in roles that they would have never imagined. They would have never imagined seeing a Black author read to them at school, or maybe even having a Black educator, having a Black teacher. I mean, yes. Growing up, I had none. I had not one growing up. So again, and just giving them that positive reinforcement that they too can be in these roles that they never once see themselves in. Also, like I said, it gives them a sense of value, a sense of belonging, and a different perception, a different way of looking at things. So in our community, oftentimes single parent homes are looked at as something negative, right? As soon as, and I mean, no one gets together to divorce, right? That's not what we do, or separate or what have you, but it's happening and it's the norm, but no one wants to talk about it.
It is a stigma.
It's a stigma, exactly. It's a stigma related to it. And the moment you talk about it, it's a sign of weakness. And so it's just, I think really owning in on the perception and changing that negative notation into something positive. So in my book series, my goal is to really, even if you're not in a co-parenting situation, I think the goal is really just to spark that conversation, get that conversation going, especially in the Black community. We don't talk about it enough. And I think just even asking a question will lead to another question, will lead to another question, will lead to another question. And that's how we raise awareness. And this is where the mental wellness comes in as well as a community. We have to talk to one another.
Right. And so we're talking about you being, an influence on other people, but who are the people that influenced you? Do you have other authors? Do you have people in your life, professionally, mentors that influenced you?
Yes. So again, I would say definitely my mom, being a strong influence in my life, not only because of what my upbringing, and in terms of my being a product of a co-parenting household, or single parent household rather, and seeing my mom struggle and seeing all the adversities and barriers that she had to, or the challenges that she had to overcome, and still doing that with her crown on her head, doing that proud. And yes, there was, the times where, like I mentioned, there was the cultural, barriers, like not wanting to speak to anyone or not wanting to seek those resources. But I think she did a pretty good job. And I think she is my inspiration in the sense where my daughter grows up with more tools than I had.
Yes.
More tools than I had. So I want to, in addition to that, I'd say my daughter is the biggest inspiration for me. Again, just wanting her to be confident and just be a welcome member of society without having any doubt related to her family dynamic. And like I said, if we don't get these conversations out there, it's not often happening in the school.
It's not.
right?
And you mentioned doubt, and I think there's a saying that goes something like doubt kills more good ideas than anything else, right? Just not being able to start because of the barrier you put in front of yourself. So you got out of your own way and you wrote the first book, and
Yeah,
then you started a book club. So I
I
want to know
did.
more about that.
I did. So, and I will say, and I just want to go back a little bit when we talk about just overcoming. I will want to put it out there. It wasn't easy. I don't want to sit
Mhm.
here and make it seem as though, yes, we separated. I wrote a book and that was it. It was very
Right.
challenging, very challenging. And again, I had to really seek resources and seek my community and seek whatever it is that helped me. So talking to someone, so that mental wellness, I can't stress that enough.
Mhm.
But it really breeds positive relationships. So whether it's friendships, marriages,
Mhm.
even your community relationships. So I just really wanted to put that out there and mention that it was still challenging. And I guess the point is, regardless of what adversities are thrown at you, you can still overcome and change that negative to make it a positive.
Well,
So
I'm
sorry.
glad you went back and said,
Yeah,
we're at the end of this, but it was hard to get here.
yeah, yeah. So I just
Because
wanted to,
the strong Black woman thing is killing us too,
it
right?
is,
This
it
is
is.
this is
And this is why I really wanted to be transparent and just, I had to go beyond the cultural biases and break those barriers. I had to seek my community. I had to talk. And not only to my village, I had to seek professional help,
Mhm.
right? And so yeah, I just wanted to put that out there that I mean, don't turn an eye on really doing what you have to do for yourself to overcome whatever challenges it is. It doesn't even have to be related to co-parenting, but I really went and really focus on that mental wellness. So whether it's working out, whether it's listening to music, going for a walk, whatever it is that you have to do, and you would know what works best for you, whether it's writing, whether it's journaling. I think we really, as a community, really have to own in on um, taking it back, man, taking our crown back.
Thank you for saying that. So let's talk a little bit about the book club.
Yes, sorry. So the
No,
book club.
no.
So again, like I said in the beginning, I really just love to give back. I love the sense of community, sense of belonging. And I just thought it was important that children have another avenue to kind of read and observe and kind of inquire, that whole inquiry going on in regards to different authors. Um, Again, it's not in school. So had this book club not, been out, maybe they'll never heard about it.
Right.
They wouldn't have heard about the author or not. So I think it's important to just share my platform. I mean, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I think it's important that I do God's work now.
Mhm.
So, just share a helping hand, and that's what it's about. Just really not only for the authors to put their work out there and but just for the children to have another place, like an online resource, so they're really able to tap in. And I think the more places we kind of have books readily available for these children, the more inclined they'll be able to want to read.
Right. And so talk a little bit more about how it functions. Are you going into
So
schools, or how do you
I
find your books?
So right now, I haven't done it. I'll be honest, I'm so busy. It's a good thing. I'm just so busy. I haven't really had time to kind of focus on my baby, which is the book club. But how I find the authors is I'm a part of a book club, Black Book Fair, and a lot of authors kind of reached out, just saying, hey, I noticed you have a book club. I also do a lot of self-marketing myself.
Mhm.
So if I see, hey, you're an author, upcoming author, hey, I'm doing this book club. If you really want to get kind of your books out there, send me a link, let's chat. Also, because I'm an educator and because I do go into schools, I do also have that link provided to the teacher. So I send that link directly over to the school librarian.
Right.
That way they have access and they have that resource in schools as well. It's not at every school. I'm working on it. But for sure, majority of the schools that I have spoken at or done presentations for, they definitely have the book club resources at their libraries.
That's
So in addition
excellent.
to my storybooks, there's multiple authors that they could go through with different topics that they could
Mhm.
relate to,
Mhm.
and they see representation of themselves. Um, you know,
And do you do anything on Instagram or on YouTube with the book club?
So yes, I do. Sorry. My
That's
daughter
okay.
does a read aloud. So every Monday, again, because I'm just timing and just trying to find that balance. But every Monday, my daughter, and we do segments. So right now, there's not a segment going on right now, but every Monday she does do read aloud. So a same concept where we choose a Black author, different Black author every Monday, and we read. We showcase their story, and again, we never know who we're going to relate to that Monday, right? Some books may be about hair, some books may be about family, but that's what we do. And again, the goal is just to get the kids involved, get that conversation going, encourage reading, and making reading fun.
So as you're seeing all these, from when you started to where you are now to being an author yourself,
Yeah.
how do you see the world of representative storytelling evolving? Is it getting any better?
I think so. I think we're all doing the work, and I think it can't end here. I think we all have to continue to do the work. The more things, the more I guess workshops, conversations that we have like this, the more we support one another.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing too, just support in the Black community. I think we need to kind of own in on that as well. And I think it's getting there. I think it's getting there.
I'm
One
glad
step at
you're
a
optimistic.
You know what? I think we just have to continue. We can't stop. I mean, similar to the BLM movement. It's Black Life. It's go go go. Black Lives Matter, and then all of a sudden it's kind of same with Black History Month. Black History Month, February. Let's go. Let's put out all these initiatives, and then March it's kind of quiet. So again, we want to Black History Month and beyond. We want to carry these things consistently throughout the year, ongoing 365. And I think if we're consistent and we continue building each other up as a community, supporting one another, having these conversations, networking, connecting, I think it's possible. I don't know.
I'm glad you said that. And I'm glad you mentioned the idea of, it's really good to sort of like an enhanced period of time where maybe people's attentions are more focused on whatever affinities there are out there that are underrepresented. But then what about the other, 51 weeks or month or other 364 days where the day of the week of the month is the focus? Those intersections need to keep happening. And so something like the book club that you're doing keeps that in the mind's eye of people in the schools and the libraries. And so we've been talking about books. So let's talk about your book. Can you show it to us? Can you read?
Yes, absolutely. So let's see, can you guys see this book?
Yes,
so this
we can
is
see
the first book in my book series. This is Mommy Lives Here and Daddy Lives There. And this book basically just talks about divorce and separation from Mia's perspective. So she experiences joy living with both mommy and daddy, while both parents share the roles of co-parenting. So like I mentioned in the beginning, this really is where I started. So how I explained to Mia, you're a lucky girl, you have two of everything. That is how I was able to help Mia navigate through what we're experiencing, our co-parenting difficulties. Here is Birthday Party at Daddy's House. So this is the second baby in the Mia's Real Book series. And Birthday Party at Daddy's House, again, just talks about Mia having a birthday party. She's super excited because the birthday party is at Daddy's house and there's a special guest. And if we talk about co-parenting, especially in the Black community, that's not normally happening where you're separated and dad's coming over for a birthday party. It's usually separate. So again, really wanted to kind of depict something different, a positive lens in Birthday Party at Daddy's house. So Mia has a party at Daddy's house, mom comes over and they all kind of celebrate together. And what's really interesting is the books really mimic, I would say, what's really happening in Mia's life. So it really follows Mia in age, rather. And I do plan on following Mia in the series in age, because as she gets older, that co-parenting dynamic will change. Whether I may not be so involved, it just may be her and dad. So I'm really looking forward to when she takes over the writing piece fully, and as we follow her in age with the rest of the series.
That's a really great concept to have it build with the stories that are really reflecting what she's going through. That someone's going to sit down with 5 or 6 or 7 books and really be able to follow that whole series and have that representation and that experience. It's really great.
Right. Thank you. Thank
So
you.
I've met Mia, and I've met her at one of the book fairs that you and I met at, and she is
Yes.
an avid reader. And so how does she enjoy being a part of this every Monday where she gets to read to others?
Oh my goodness, loves it. She absolutely loves it. She's thrilled. In fact, I've also done read alouds at her school, and just having her mom as an author come to school,
Right.
and just having that representation, and it just really gives her a sense of empowerment, I would say, at her little age, right? And really builds her confidence, and really, in terms of her reading, just makes reading like kids don't really want to read these days. Social media is taking over. I'll be honest. TikTok, whatever else app they have going on, Instagram. So I think I'm really proud, per se, that Mia is just really able to kind of really take a liking to what we're doing, and is really just as passionate as I am, and really wants friends and children her age to know that it's okay if mommy and daddy don't live together.
Right.
And we actually, my last presentation at a school in Peel, she came with me. I brought her along. I don't normally do that because it's during school, and she also has school herself. But I barely had to speak. Deborah. I mean, she kind of took it over, and the students were asking a lot of questions, and she was just able to answer. And don't worry, if your parents don't live together, it's fine as long as they love you. And just really, it made me feel good. Honestly, it really made me feel good to hear her almost recite and just believe everything that I'm trying to instill in her.
That's wonderful.
And she's just trying to just pass that on, just passing the torch. And it's just really warms my heart as a mom.
Sound really proud. Tell me, do you have an activity book as well?
I do. I was just about to
show me the activity book. Let's see that.
Activity book. So this just launched February 20th on Family Day. And I thought it was very fitting because we're talking about family dynamics and what have you. So what our activity book is, it's the latest edition, and basically both books in our series in an activity book. So I'll show you an example. We have lots of cool activities. We have mazes. So I'll tell you what, this is my favorite. So this is a maze that says, help Mia get from mommy's house to daddy's house.
That's very clever.
Right. So just, again, the activities really relate to the storybooks, which is awesome. Help Mia get to the birthday party. So there's a few different ones. There's some fill in the blanks. So if you have read the first two books, there are some fill in the blanks there as well. A lot of good activities. We have word searches. I will say this is my favorite, put your art to the test. So drawing the other half of Mia's face. Yeah, so really some really fun activities, I think really encourages fun and reading, really.
I like that one a lot. I really love the fact that you're just evolving this to have more than one way to tell this story, right? Because if you're doing an activity book, then you're kind of putting your own spin on the drawing, or you're kind of working through in your own head how to go through the maze, and it's interactive, and it opens up conversation and makes it safe.
I think the word is intentional. Just being really intentional with the activity book, and making sure that, again, it really supported the first two books in the series.
Okay, so what's next for you?
Sorry. So Mia, I will say, Mia is no longer an only child. On dad's side. Yes. So Mia is now a big sister. So I'm currently in the writing stages of that. So the next book, we are currently in the stages of finding the title and all that good stuff. My titles are really my catch. So that's probably the most challenging part when it comes to writing and creating my stories, is the title. So right now, we're currently writing about Mia being a big sister. Her sister is now, I believe, 1.5. So I think for me, I wanted her to live out that experience before I wrote about it. I really want to be intentional and want to have real life experiences so children can relate. So like I said, she's about 1.5. Mia's been interacting, been spending time. So every now and then she comes home and because she knows we're writing, it's funny. She'll come home from dad's and say, "Oh, so mom, I played with my sister today and we did this and we did that." And just because she knows that I'm taking information down to
Everything is
write
content.
yes, so she know. Oh gosh, smart little girl, smart little girl.
That's really exciting. I'm really looking forward, and that's going to be a really great activity book that goes along
It
with
is.
that story.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
So that's what's next. I also am planning a launch early April for the activity book because I haven't it was just online. I haven't really launched it yet. So yeah, like an in-person launch, and yeah, continue just servicing and sharing my story, doing things like this, and really just educating, raising awareness. That's my goal. I hope even after this presentation that somebody gets off and just it sparks conversation somewhere.
Well, it's going to be recorded, and this is a time of the day when we maybe people are still on their way home, and we have people who have registered who are like, "Oh, I'm sorry I couldn't make it." We're like, "That's fine. We're recording this because you're going to be able to watch it again and share it with others." And that's how these things continue, right? I have a feeling that people are going to be watching this later and then say, "You really need to contact this person and have her come talk to your school, and you really need to get that activity book." And you are on Instagram at Mia's
Yes,
World Book
I am on
Club.
Instagram. I was just going to say we just touched the surface because we only have an hour, but definitely I'd love to kind of connect and really dive in deep. But I am on Instagram, and I do have a few. You could check me out at Mia's World Book Club on Instagram. You could also dance with us on TikTok. So Mia's a little dancer. I write books. I'm not a dancer. I always put it out there.
Yeah.
But we do have TikTok where lots of engagements happening. And that is at Mia's World Books. And Facebook, Mia's World Book Club as well. So please connect with us.
You're self-promoting on social media.
Yes.
Which platforms do you find have the kind of engagements that you want? And do you find that there's a lot of people on one, but it's not exactly the people that you're trying to get to? Like, how are you deciding how to spend your time?
Yes.
Because that's a lot of work if you're not reaching the right people.
It's a lot of work, and it still is a lot of work. I think you have to make yourself available on all platforms because there's an audience on every platform for you, believe it or not. For example, Facebook, that's not my go-to, but there's lots of parenting groups on Facebook that I can connect with. So although I may not be, that's not my first social media platform to kind of to market on, I do, get connected with the different groups that are going on. I kind of use it as a resource for myself as well. When it comes to the children, that's TikTok. And I think children they're a huge voice.
Yeah.
So I think we really love just connecting with the children on TikTok. I think that's a fun demographic over there, fun group. And again, it's Paige kind of leading the show over there. Paige Mia is just leading the show, dancing. But my main platform I would say that I use often is Instagram, and it just works for me. That's where all the authors are. No, I'm just kidding. That's just, I don't know, that just seems to be working for me in terms of my demographic and the audience that I'm trying to reach. And for me, I don't even really have a particular audience, I'll be honest. Because I think the topic of co-parenting is important for everyone. I think for everyone. My goal is to encourage that dialogue. Whether you're Black, white, whatever your race is, whatever your family dynamic is, even if you're not in a co-parenting household, again, I'll give you an example. Oftentimes when I do vendor events or market events, and they'd be coming over, checking out my books, and a few people would say, "Oh no, I'm okay. We're not in a co-parenting. We're in a relationship. I don't need to buy that book. Not relatable. Can't really relate to them." And then I would say, I understand. You're absolutely correct. However, education is key. So why not raise awareness? Why not have your children know about the different family dynamics so that when they're in the classroom and they hear that, mommy lives here and daddy lives there, they're not, shocked or looking confused, right? You have to raise awareness. It doesn't matter if you're not in that situation. So yeah, that was a little story I always try and tell because people are quick to say, no, not me, not me. Right? When really, education is key, and it doesn't have to be you.
And so when
right?
you do the book fairs, you're saying you're part of the Black Book Fair?
Yeah,
And that's
I
a
am.
whole consortium of sort of like
Black
a marketing
authors.
effort to really promote Black authors. And
Yes.
so do you help to organize those as part of Muse World Book Club, or are you more of a participant?
I'm more of a participant. I think the first Pearl, her name is Pearl, the organizer. Her and I are fairly close. I think the first book fair, I maybe said a few suggestions, but no, she's a queen. She's kind of doing her thing all on her own. So I can't take any credit there. I'm definitely a participant. But even being there, just able to kind of lend a helping hand wherever I can.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I'm gonna see if anyone on the call has a question or has anything they want to
Sure.
say.
I love questions.
We're gonna
I'm sorry.
be sharing your I'm gonna type in your webpage in the chat just so people can get to that. And I'm going to ask the facilitator to please put the survey link in the chat as well so that people who are attending can tell us more. And remember, this is being recorded, so if you want to share it with folks that you know couldn't join us today so that they can watch it, we're going to be putting on the blackmentalhealthweek.ca web. Thank you for putting the survey up. This is, again, I really appreciate you being here to talk with us about this, because that word stigma is very strong. It's a very strong word. And I've had side conversation. I have my own little children's book about something that's stigmatic. And it's to really get out there and have those eye contact conversations, which is what I call them, where you make people stop and make eye contact with you and say, this is a story that's not just for you, it can be for other people as well, is very difficult. And getting into the schools, getting into the libraries, getting that conversation going with people who don't want to have it is key. And it's unassuming. Right. You have this book. I love the illustrations because they're so accessible, right? It's just kind of like really fun to look at. And the activity book is really fun to do. But the point is, the very fact that the maze is find your way from mommy's house to daddy's house. I just think that's so wonderfully functional. And it's a real teaching moment, and it's really safe. And I really appreciate you putting those together. I can't wait to see what you're going to do with the next book that explains how Mia is responding to her new sibling. And I'll leave the floor to you for any closing remarks.
Did we have any questions before are we okay?
None came in. People have been very shy this last couple of days. They haven't been really saying much, but I'll just leave the floor to you to talk about Be Well and let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I just want to leave it, if I could just leave anyone with just always, just again, I want to hone in on that mental wellness piece and really find something that works for you, especially in the Black community. I think we don't do it enough. Again, we have to break these stigmas and these barriers and really promote mental wellness. So whatever works for you. Again, I can't stress it enough. I feel like I'm broken record right now, but because I can't stress it. We don't do it enough. We don't have serious conversations like this, and we need to.
Yes.
And again, it may not be writing. It may not be a community. It may not be a village. It may be, you working out every day. It may be you going to massage. But whatever that mental wellness is for you, I think we need to do it. I think we need to really promote positive and healthy relationships within the Black community, because it's heartbreaking and heart-wrenching. We have the little ones are growing up and they are watching us. So we have to be good examples and leaders.
Yeah. Leading by example is really tough sometimes, especially when you're going through it.
It is. But
and not just you're going through it, other people are putting you through it.
It is. It's hard to lead by example. But again, if we own in on these resources, right? So own in on your community, own in on, whatever works for you. But I think if we lean in on our resources, it's doable. It's doable. Everyone else is doing it. It's doable. We could go really deep with this conversation, but I just really want my
time. Go ahead. Go a little deeper.
I just really want our Black community to really, we need to do better as a community. We need to come together. We need to really do better in terms of healthy relationships and fostering these healthy relationships, maintaining these healthy relationships. And we can only do that by educating ourselves, supporting one another, raising awareness, having these hard eye-to-eye conversations that we're having, seeking out resources, and just being really supportive of one another, without judgment.
That's a strong statement, and harder to do than it sounds, but it's like you're saying, putting in the work. Putting in that work and that time is what it takes. And everything
in time, right? Everything, it's do we really want it? Do we really want to see that change?
Yes, yes. And what are you going to do differently?
Right, exactly. And I was just about to say, like myself, I had to really ask myself, as much I was depressed when I was separated, depressed, but I really had to ask myself, what am I going to do differently for my daughter? How am I going to change this narrative right now so that my daughter doesn't relive what I had to go through? How am I going to change that? And I really had to really just reflect, a lot of reflection, a lot of deep, hard conversations, self-talk, positive self-talk. I had to do all of that. I had to do the work.
And here you are on the other side of it with something that's helping other people.
Yeah. And sometimes it's easier said than done, I will admit. But it's something that has to be done. It has to. And
thank you for doing it. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so authentic and raw and letting us know that it wasn't always easy, but you have triumph, and you have more triumph and more success coming. And Mia's World Book Club is a really great resource. I share it with all my friends, and I know it's growing. And I really want to thank you so much for spending your time with us today, away from your bundle of joy, to talk with us about what you've done and, you know, your success as an author. And thank you for what you do with the TDSB and how you're working with other children. That's really special work that you're doing. And I hope everyone who was on the call today enjoys. We're going to be uploading this, and I'll be sending things out for those that have come to other sessions to, be able to see this, and maybe we'll be able to provide you with some feedback from a recording. There's other wonderful sessions happening this week, including our, so if you can join us on something else and be an observer, that would be great. We have a great closing ceremony happening on March the 12th at the Toronto Archives. That's at Spadina and some intersection. I don't remember now, but if you go on the webpage, you'll go on the calendar and you'll be able to see where that is. It's all free food, music, dancers, face painting, speakers. It's going to be a fantastic afternoon from 11 till 4. It's the first day that we're going to be springing forward. So that'll be getting an extra bit of hour there to spend with us. So I'm going to say good night to you and thank you so much. Those of you on the call, please fill out the survey, and you and I will connect again soon.
We will. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Victoria.
I look forward to more connections. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Bye,
cheers. Take care. Good night.
Cheers. Take care. Bye.